Okay, so the last me talkie video for this week is an introduction to something that we're going to do every week called Organism of the Week. I used to do Organism of the Day. So if you hear me slip into Organism of the Day, I mean week, whatever. Okay. This is going to be kind of an introduction to why we're doing this, an introduction for how to do this, and then the organism for this first week, for week 1. Okay. So there are some sections in your book that are really useful to help you with these tasks each week. So those chapter 7, chapter 8, 9, and 10 each have some sections that relate to this. And so those you're going to want to refer to. Okay. All right. So the reason I do Organism of the Week is it's kind of an interactive way of talking a bit about diversity of life. Okay. So that's where we're going to go. Let's talk about the diversity of life. So the number of organisms that exist on this planet is pretty amazing. The current number of described species is around 1.8 million. But a lot of biologists think that in reality, that's probably closer to about 10 million different species that exist. Only one of those are dogs. Okay. And so there's this incredible amount of diversity. And so one of the things that we're going to kind of explore in doing this Organism of the Week is a little bit about some of that diversity. So it's our opportunity to learn about diversity. Okay. So this is I should explain my pictures. This, just to give you a feel for diversity, this is a hallway in a natural history museum. Natural history museums are amazing places. In addition to having displays where they have things for the public to look at and learn from, and things that are out for you to see, they also have collections that are used for research, and often those collections are huge, right? And really, really useful for all different kinds of research. I was really fortunate last May. I got to go visit the Field Museum, which is a large old natural history museum in Chicago. And I was in Chicago for a conference, and part of the conference was a behind the scenes tour of the Field Museum. It was like my like 6-year-old Sarah's dream come true. It was amazing. I love natural history museums. It's great. Got to see the behind the scenes stuff. So fun. Okay. So the reason that this should, the reason this picture should be like, ooh, is that whole hallway is filled with cabinets. Can you see all these cabinets all the way down? Ooh, oopsies, right? Cabinets all the way down. Even on there's a second story of cabinets. Every single one of those cabinets is filled with drawers. Every single one of those drawers is filled with butterflies. And that's just butterflies, right? So much diversity just within butterflies. Can you imagine what it would be like if we looked at all the diversity of everything that's alive? Right. Anyway, this is a really great display that's at the Natural History Museum in New York City. I just think it's beautiful how they show all of these things together, and I have not been to that one. Someday. It's just, anyway, it's just so pretty that I like to show that. Okay, so biodiversity. When we talk about diversity, there's so many different organisms that it helps to categorize them. That's how human brains work. We like to categorize things. We like to put things into categories, right? When you're picking through your kids' Halloween candy, it's like the good candy and the crap candy, right? At least that's what I'm doing when I go through my kids' Halloween candy. I find a lot of poisonous candy in there, that they probably shouldn't have. I'm sure it's not safe for them. Anyway, so we like to categorize things. It's what we do. It's how our brains work. Okay. It's just like, it's a part of our DNA, how our brains work. We can categorize things all different ways, and we're going to explore that. Okay. So the biggest groupings, right? The biggest categories that we can use to categorize organisms are domains. Okay. And so what you're looking at in this image is you're looking at 3 different domains: domain bacteria, domain archaea, and domain eukarya. What in the heck do those words mean? Okay, I also need to fix my PowerPoint because you can't see the labels for these other ones. I gotta fix it. In fact, let me just do it right now. Oh, fixing as I go. Home. Boom. Now you can see it. Okay. I fix as I go. All right. Okay, so we have these large domains of life, and then within the domains, we have kingdoms. So it's kind of like nesting dolls, right? You get the big group, those are the domains. So all living things fit into one of these three domains. Then within domain eukarya, we have several kingdoms that we're going to explore as well. Okay. I'm not going to talk you through this really. I'm going to have you guys read about it. Okay. And then after you've read about it and you've looked at the organism for this week, then we'll kind of come together and talk about like, okay, well, why is that the correct answer? Why is that in such and such domain and such kingdom? Okay. So I'm going to let you read about it. The only part I'm going to give you a little bit of a heads up. Okay. So the heads up I'm going to give you is I'm going to talk a little bit about the difference between a prokaryotic cell and a eukaryotic cell. Okay. So the prokaryotic cells are in domain bacteria and archaea. I'm spelling archaea wrong. What's wrong with me? Is my brain on vacation? Yes, it is. Yes, it is. There we go. Okay. So domain bacteria and domain archaea are both, that's an and. How about this? Let's do a plus. Okay. Are both prokaryotic. And then domain eukarya, an R and then a Y, are eukaryotic cells. Okay, so what's the difference between these? We're going to talk a lot more about cells later. This is just meant to be a brief introduction. The primary difference between these, you ready? Are all these things listed here? So prokaryotic cells are small, relatively speaking, much smaller, small. They're a lot simpler. They don't have as many different things. Look at how big this cell is over here. Look at all these complex, look at all these complex structures and parts and things. It's a eukaryotic cell. Like I said, we're going to talk more about this later. Okay. What do I want to say? I'm trying to think about how much I want to give away and how much I want you to figure out. Kingdom plantae. Those are the plants. Kingdom fungi. Those are fungi. Kingdom animalia. And then the protists are a group found in multiple kingdoms. We're going to deal with them more later. Okay. So what do I want to say about this? I have a couple slides here that normally we would talk about this in class all together. But here's what I think I'm going to do. I think I'm going to leave this way. And then I'll post an answer key at some point. So I want you to try to look at these examples and figure out, first of all, what domain, right? And then second of all, if it's in eukarya, what kingdom? Okay, I'm going to give you one other little hint to help with this. These two domains, in addition to having prokaryotic cells, which are small and simple and all of that stuff, are also usually unicellular, meaning that the organism is composed of a single cell. Whereas domain eukarya can be uni or multicellular. Okay, so I think based on that description, I think hopefully you might be able to figure out which of these are either in bacteria and archaea or in eukarya. From there, it's getting a little bit tricky, and that's where I want you to refer back to these sections in your book. Each one of these talks a little bit about domains, and then a little bit about fungi, a little bit about plants, a little bit about animals. I think I'm pointing to the wrong chapters when I say that, but you'll figure it out. Okay. Read those sections and that will help you figure it out. Okay. Like I said, I think I'm just going to post this without the answers. And then I will post a key to this that has a little explanation and, but not right away. I'm going to make you fester for a bit. Think about it. Okay. And now, what you've all been waiting for. So, oh, wait, sorry, I got excited too fast. So here's one group, here's another group. Try to figure these out too. Okay. Anyway, all right. And now what you've been waiting for is our organism of the week. So this is your homework. I am not expecting like a report on this organism. I am just expecting you to answer these questions. And so a paragraph. Are you going to have to do a little bit of research? Yeah. It might be hard. It might not be. This one, probably not, I think. I think you might know what this is already. And if you don't, there's this thing that you can do where you Google images and you take the image and you do the reverse Googly. I don't remember what it's called, but there's a thing. You'll be able to figure it out. Okay. So what organism is this? What domain is it in? And then what kingdom is it in? How do you know that? What are the defining characteristics of that domain and that kingdom? You're going to have to read those sections in your book to figure that out. Okay. And then what are other things about this organism, right? So where does it live? What kind of habitat? Is there a specific region of the world where it lives? What specialized adaptations does it have that allow it to live in those places? And he's showing off some of his specialized adaptations right now. Look at these footies, right? Look at this thing. What is that? There's some on his head too. What the heck is going on with that? This is a crazy, crazy creature. I'll erase that so it's not blocking the picture. Okay. How does it get energy? So by that, I mean, is this a photosynthetic organism? Does it get its energy from the sun? Does it consume food? How does it get its energy? I'm gonna let you think about that a little bit. And then for this particular species, is it an endangered species or not? Is there anything else that's interesting about it? So literally, I'm looking for like a paragraph. Okay. So don't make this harder than it needs to be. But you are gonna have to crack your book and maybe do a little bit of online research. Okay? This is meant to be fun. I hope it is. Okay? There will be weird things in the weeks to come. Okay? All right. See you guys soon. Have a lovely week, right? I'll be checking in with you. Okay? Okay.